and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker, and today we're going to be taking a look through top 16 deck lists from Set 3 format from a tournament that took place online a couple of weeks ago, hosted by the Pack, titled The Revenge of the Fifth. Now, this video is likely only going to be of much interest to those of you that are planning to go to Disney Lorcana challenges in Lille or Atlanta, which are taking place this weekend from the 25th and the 26th. Because they're both being played under Set 3 format. So my heart goes out to those of you that are playing and have had to kind of maybe half resist playing Ursula's Return, or maybe you have played a bit of it, but then you're getting yourself back into a Set 3 headspace for the DLC challenge. Well, that's why I'm doing this today, to hopefully help some of you to get into that Set 3 headspace and talk about some of the Set 3 best performing decks. We're going to jump straight in. This event took place on the 5th of the 5th at 24. 277 players. And it was a cut to top 16. So in first place, we have the Rat with some Emerald Steel Discard, a deck that has performed so well in Set 3 format. Just Emerald in general, paired either with Steel or with Amethyst. Just got all the tools it needed. The 2-drop Ursula, definitely one of the star cards of the format for sure. Being able to rip those songs out of players' hands. And of course, the 3-drop Ursula Deceiver of all. Being able to double sing things is so incredibly powerful. We've got a heavy discard package. We've got Prince John's here to help us to draw cards as we're making our opponent discard. We've got 4 copies of Daisy here to just be an onboard threat that can do the same. She also quests well, and you can get, if you empty your opponent's hand, it's still sometimes worth having a Daisy down because they might draw an uninkable that they can't play. So she still puts in a lot of work. Again, as I mentioned, Ursula can double sing songs. So with Storm Rage on and Strength for a Raging Fire, this is so strong. Just double singing Storm Rage on to draw 2 along with the double ping. Strength for a Raging Fire can help you ping 2 big things potentially if you've got a big board, and the double sudden chill, the discard off of that is just absolutely breaking, especially if you've got Prince John and you're drawing all the while. We've got 4 of the Flynn folk here. Again, you might quest with these in the first couple of turns. In a lot of circumstances you would, but sometimes you'd hold off just to play the Prince John on turn 3 and then quest with these so that you're trying to get full value. We've got some hooks here for some early board presence. The Smees here again, the stats and stats, yeah, strength, willpower, lore. Smee's got it all. Cloud Kicker for some board control, Bengers for the items, so picking off Fishbone Quills, Sorceress Spellbooks. I don't expect them to be too prevalent, but some Ruby Amethyst decks will look to play them. Lanterns, Sleepy's Flutes, things like that. I think Fishbone Quill is one of like the really big targets, and Lucky Dime, of course. We've got 4 Friar Tuck here for some additional discard, especially if we're coming back from behind, and he's got some good stats. That 4 willpower stays out of a lot, and questing for 2, and of course Beast Tragic Hero. If he remains unchecked without being instantly removed by Medusa or pinged or whatever it might be, then it's just going to draw you so many cards. 2 Baboom here, which I think is perfectly reasonable. Some people, you might see cannons in some lists, probably not more than 1, but I think Baboom's a really nice nice choice. Again, the song package we talked about, and then along came Zeus. So basically, as you're looking through this deck, my hope is that you're refamiliarizing yourself with, okay, this is some of the tools that this deck will play. I don't know how many Emerald Steel decks we've got to look through. Yeah, there's a couple more, but yeah, a really powerful deck. It would not surprise me at all to see this ink combination make very deep runs in the DLC. Moving on to another Emerald Steel discard, this time a Tiana version, being represented by Harlan. Shout out to Harlan. We have had him on the channel for an interview a couple of months ago. Great guy, great player, and yeah, fantastic top 8 run. But yeah, also opting to play the Emerald Steel package. They're opting to play the Robin Hood as a 4/4. Worth bearing in mind that if you do see this deck drop the Robin Hood, there is that chance that they're not playing the Floodborn. Again, this deck lacks good 1-drops, and this absolutely just kind of threatens the Floodborn, so you kind of have to play around it to a degree. So I would not say assume they don't have it, because some decks are going to have it, like this one for instance, but always bear in mind that I think if game 1 you see just the babies and then none of the Floodborn, that doesn't mean that they're not running it. But if you didn't see any, then maybe something to take into consideration, they're just running the baby. But yeah, other than that, differences here is just the Tiana, who, if we can empty our hand and get her exerted, then just shutting down actions is really, really strong. Everything else looks pretty much the same, just a couple of count differences. But yeah, congratulations to Harlan, another great looking deck. And our last Emerald Steel discard being piloted by Steven. They're opting to play the Robin Hood package and a Tink package, including the baby. So that's going to be good. The early Tinks are going to help with coming up against like Bucky decks and things like that. We're also playing one Tiana, and we're playing one Whole New World, which I think is fine, just as a one-off if things really start to go wrong. But yeah, I wouldn't expect most of the Emerald Steel discard decks to be running this whole Tink package. Maybe a couple accounts of the big one, but I wouldn't expect to see the baby Tinkerbell that regularly. But yeah, I expect Tiana will pop up. Going back to second place then, I said Emerald, just a standout colour of set 3 format. And in second place we have Artabax with some EA tempo, just win the game. Artabax again, great player, friend of the channel, wonderful guy, definitely the master of this deck, and I expect a lot of people will play his exact build. Maybe a couple of count differences, maybe a couple of people want to find room for stuff like Yzma. I don't know why you would, but to be fair, like, I think Yzma's okay. Let's put it this way. If I was running EA Tempo going into this tournament, I would just run Artabax's 60, to be honest. But yeah, the Pascals here are going to be really nice to pick off Stylish Surfer Minis, which was one of the biggest banes for this deck. Just evasive in general, because it just didn't have many ways of hitting them. We've got Rafiki for early board presence of it. Once again, the Flynn Folk package. We've got 3 copies of Snake, the whole bounce package. Snake, Fox, we've got 4 Crabs, so all of these low-cost characters are going to hit for much bigger numbers with this high count of Crab. We've got the 4 Goat, the 4 Rabbit, Ursula this time taking advantage of Mother Knows Best for some really aggressive board control, and and Friends on the other side to draw 4, which can just be absolutely game-changing. 3 Castles here, you always need to be wary of what your answer is to Castle, because a well-timed Castle can absolutely win games. I know from experience just playing it as a Ruby Amethyst player. 2 Tinkerbells here, again, a bit more of an evasive response, slash just if they don't have evasive, then you're just questing nicely. And also just the Pixie Dust ability to give evasive to another character. It's another way of dealing with the Stylish Surfer Mini, potentially, if you didn't get the Pascal, but maybe you managed to get the Fox down, and they've quested with Mini, then Tinkerbell comes down and Fox takes that out. So always bear that in mind. And if you are a Ruby Amethyst player, that they have this Tinkerbell can be a road to take it out along with the Pascal. But yeah, again, EA Tempo I expect to be very popular. One other EA Tempo in this particular top 16 being run by Andreas. They are playing the 2 count of Shonebox Followers, who I really like. Just the 2 strength, just checks a lot of things. It adds consistency to your deck. It's another 1 drop, which this deck really wants to hit, so you'll have to see it. We're seeing 1 copy of Pinocchio for some more board control, which can be really nice, especially in the mirror if you can take out the opposing Deceiver of all. I just said I would probably run Artabax's 60. I would probably try and find room for 1 Pinocchio. I'm just a big fan of Pinocchio. So yeah, I expect some people will play this tech. We've got the 1 copy of Wildcat here as an answer to items. So again, spell books, and flutes and lanterns, but Fishbone Quills, Lucky Dimes, that's going to be a lot of value. 2 Maleficent for the draw. This person is running Yzma, so yeah, fair enough. I think it's fine to play. 4 Mother Knows Best, 4 Friends, and 3 Queen's Castle. So yeah, looks good, and congratulations to them. Next up in top 4, we have Niles with some Ruby Sapphire Dime Control, another deck that I expect to be very popular. It has very good matches into Steel Amber Songs, has a good match into Sapphire Steel Wheel, and it has, I think, a pretty 50-50 match against Ruby Amethyst, depending on count differences and obviously player skill level. But yeah, I think it's a pretty good choice to take into a large tournament like this. So yeah, I would definitely familiarize yourself with these sort of lists. The Queen of Hearts is an important piece to know that they're running, so don't turn 1 Rafiki. Like, if you go turn 1 Rafiki and they go Porp, turn 2, if you're questing with Rafiki, you're giving it up immediately. If you're running Olaf or something like that, then that's fine. But yeah, this Queen of Hearts, be on the lookout for that early game. And yeah, long term, they're going to look to either get Dime in play, or at least even get it in the discard so that Tamatoa can recycle it. Obviously, it's never, if it's in the discard, something probably went wrong. You probably had to discard it with Flavisham, which I've seen players have to do, but then again, Tamatoa can just recycle it back. And yeah, don't try and play a long game with this deck, because it should outvalue you in the long run. Be on the lookout for the Scars and the Mauis if you're playing Castles, because you're playing Amethyst. Be wary of when you drop them against this deck, because they do have answers. Like I said, we've got 2 Scar here. We've also got 4 Be Prepared. These counts are going to vary from Ruby Sapphire player to Ruby Sapphire player. So yeah, just be on high alert for both. We've got 1 jump ahead and how far I'll go for lots of ramp, and how far I'll go in particular. I think a really nice choice. Sing it with Lavisham if you haven't got an item. Sing it with Maui. Any of the ladies sounds good to me. Fishbone Quill, so important for turn 3. If you're running any sort of item removal against this deck, look to remove this Fishbone Quill as soon as you can. But then towards the late game, they're going to look to use Bell and Tamatoa to quest high and get big bumps off Lucky Dime. They're going to have access to 4 counts of Maleficent Monstrous Dragons, the high counter ladies. This is a deck that I feel is going to do really, really well, so be wary of it. Another one here from Daniel, playing the Judy Hops for some item removal of their own. You can use it on your own items if you really need a draw, but going to be good for opposing dimes, Fishbone Quills, things like that. And Jaquette for 2. Again, the Queen of Hearts. We're seeing 4 B Prep and 3 Scar here, so really ready for castles and just board clears. We're seeing the 2 McDuck Mana in this build, so they're not all going to have it, but some are. So again, be wary of that. How am I taking out a McDuck Mana at the last minute? Again, another quite high counter ladies here with the emphasis on Medusa, which I think is right. 2 Grand Martala for the additional draw. 1 Let It Go, which again can be good for anything, but I think the main reason to run this for the Ruby Sapphire player is the Stout-Hearted. Oh no, this is a Ruby Sapphire. You should have loads of ways of dealing with Stout-Hearted Cinderella. I thought I was talking about Sapphire Steel for a moment. I wouldn't expect to see this in lots of Ruby Sapphire decks. I suppose it's fine. But yeah, that looks good. And then our last Ruby Sapphire deck from this top 16. Again, telling a lot of the same stories. We've got 2 Queens, we've got a couple of Judy Hops, 2 Bells, we've got 4 Develop Your Brain to help find key pieces. Most of these particular decks moving away from Gaston. I think you're more likely to see Gaston in the Sapphire Steel decks. The Shield of Virtues coming up a lot. Again, they really want those cheap items, and that they want a 1-drop item for turn 1. And again, just more cheap food for Flavisham. And again, the more items you get down, the more you're boosting Tamatoa's lore. Also seeing the Let It Go here. Turns out I'm wrong. Apparently, Let It Go is good for this deck. But yeah, looks good. And again, overall, I feel I would be scared to come up against this deck too much. So yeah, good luck. Going back to top 4, we have some Jafar, Amethyst Steel. Jafar, the card that when it came out, a lot of people were like, whoa, what is this? This effect is crazy. I was one of them. But I will preface that by saying I kind of hummed it up for that big dramatic reaction to Jafar video that I did. And I did say from day one, I feel like this is a good card. It's not going to dominate the meta. It's going to pop up every now and then. And that is exactly how it's played out. Never do I think I've seen more than 1 in a top list. Maybe 2 in a top 16. But yeah, and that's not even 50% of the list we've looked at in Season 3. But still a good deck, and it can pop off. And it would not surprise me if there are enough people playing Jafar at DLC, then I would be surprised to not see at least one of them have a deep run. Of course, there's also just basic Amethyst Steel which isn't running Jafar, which in itself can be a really, really good deck. And I think the ink combination in general, I think we'll see some representation in top 32. Whether or not it be Jafar, maybe not, but it absolutely could be. So be on the lookout for it. This Blue Fairy is something to really fear. If you're not running evasive answers, I would try and find room for, if you're not already running them. If you're an Amethyst player, then Pascals, I think, have a lot of utility. I would try and find room to play that, because this can just generate so much advantage for the player of this deck. But yeah, Captain Hook for an early drop for board control. We've got a 4/4 Robin Hood line in the vein of Blue Fairy, the Floodborn's Robin Hood. We've got Beast, we've got Yzma's, we've got Tinkerbell's, the Jafar himself, obviously. Benja for the item removal. Lots of Jafar targets for the Floodborn. We've got 3 Royal Vizier, who's also an evasive answer. 4 Dreadnought, great stat line, really hard to get over without hard removal like a Long Game Zeus, and then just that ability to draw extra cards can just check boards. And then yeah, if you can evolve into the big Jafar and then play a whole new world, then that's a whole lot of lore. We've got smashes here for them to early answer things like aerials and docks, maybe opposing Jafars, even just things like Blue Fairy are worth removing, and again, even just Robin Hood or the target of a shift, it's worth having answers for 3 Along Came Zeus, 2 Grab Swords, which I think is good to give you a better aggro better matchup into aggro and things like Bucky, and then 3 Queen's Castle on top. Yeah, I think, again, whether or not it'd be a Jafar variant or not, I don't know, but Amethyst Steel is such a strong ink combination. I imagine we'll see some representation in Top Cut. Yes, I'm glad there is another one. I wasn't sure. Here is said Amethyst Steel mid-range. So no Jafar, but we're running Pinocchios here for some more board control, which is going to, like, again, through foxes and crabs and Robin Hoods and hooks, you're going to get a lot of value off of those. We're running 1 spell book as well. Going to be good for the mirror. Hopefully good for the Ruby Amethyst match as well. But yes, super low to the ground. Like, you should always be able to play the game. And these 3 Pinocchios, I think, are going to put in a lot of work. So yeah, great. Moving into top 8, we have Aaron with some Steel Amber FluteSong. Now, I know I keep saying how I feel like this just has a bad matchup into red-blue, but that's not going to be your entire field. And again, with 2-game format, you're just trying to get as many wins as possible. But all that being said, doesn't mean you can't beat it, especially in the hands of a really skilled pilot. I would never bet against someone like DeCandio playing this in combination into anything. If it's someone's sort of like pet deck, or just a deck they're very experienced with, then you can still win. And the in combination is inherently just so powerful due to the advantage you can generate off a well-timed whole new world for super good value. Try and empty your hand of as many things as you can quickly. Get a nice high value wheel by singing it with something like Ariel or one of your Floodborns, and then just have a whole fresh hand that you've still got ink to play out a turn, and just hopefully then by that point you're so far ahead in resources that every time your opponent puts something down, you're immediately Strength of a Raging Fire, Along Came Zeus, grab your swords if they spread wide. We've got bare necessities to check the non-character cards that we don't want to see. And yes, Sleepy's Flutes, this deck can be super passive. It doesn't need to quest all that much. It wants to, if it can, absolutely. But it can just control the board, generate value, toot their flutes, and then they only really need a good 2 or 3 quests off with, if they've got the likes of Smee here, Rapunzel, Benja, the Queen, Robin Hood, and especially if Robin Hood gets his ability procced and gets a +2, Cinderella questing for 3. Again, I would not bet against this deck. It's just so incredibly powerful. It just doesn't have a great red-blue just because they're ramping while they've got all these control cards and you're refreshing their hand for them, and that's the weakest part of the Ruby Sapphire player's game. But again, if you play it right, you can absolutely beat them. So yeah, deck looks good. Congratulations to Aaron. One more SteelSong deck in this top 16, courtesy of TSI. Again, a FluteSong version. This is looking very much the same. A few count differences. We've got 2 copies of the World's Greatest Criminal Mind to take out those things like Tamatoas, Cinderellas, Maui's, Maleficents. In fact, yeah, to be honest, was the last one running? No, Aaron's not running World's Greatest Criminal Mind, which I would probably find room for, especially because you're running the Queen, which can put other things online for the World's Greatest Criminal Mind. But yeah, I just think instantly getting rid of Tamatoas in itself is a bit of a shout. So yeah, if I was playing SteelSong, I would definitely find room for this song in particular. But other than that, deck looks really good. Congratulations to TSI. Going on to our one and only Ruby Amethyst list that made Top Cut at this particular event, which I wouldn't take as necessarily a big deal. Pretty much every other Top Cut, there's been a little bit more representation of Ruby Amethyst. That isn't to say that they've been dominating, not by any stretch. This has been an incredibly healthy meta. And to be honest, even the events where there's been 3 to 5 Ruby Amethysts, they generally haven't made it past top 8 or even top 16 in one event, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I expect this still to be a very popular deck. It has no bad matchups, really. No great matchups either, but I think confident pilots, especially players that have played this more than anything, which we know from information from like set championships is the case, that for a lot of people they've just got a lot of miles behind with this deck. So I think a lot of players will just default to this because they know it the best, and again, it doesn't have terrible matchups, and it's still such a strong deck. I like this build here with 4 Rafiki, 4 Mini for the 1-drops, 2 Kuzco I do think is low. I think this is sometimes you don't want to go wide. Sorry, I mean sometimes you want to go wide and you don't want to put down the snake. We do have Pinocchio here. I love Pinocchio, absolutely. I would be running 2 as well, but I don't count him as a reliable 2-drop. Again, you want things down that are there just to quest, and again, the fact that Kuzco draws you a card I think is really strong. 2 Maleficent for some draw, 4 Crab I think is great. Again, all of these characters suddenly hitting much bigger numbers, and you get some great value off of your Kuzcos being boosted and challenging in. 4 Stylish Surfer Mini, who I think is going to be gone from set 4 onwards, would be my guess. But what a dominant run since Rise of the Floodborn. This girl, man. This girl, but yeah, such a strong card. If you're playing against Ruby Amethyst, you need an answer to this turn 3 mini. So yeah, Pascal's, or again, if you're playing Emerald, you've probably got quite a few answers. Steel has Jafar, Sapphire has Cruella de Vil, there's others. But yeah, come prepared with an answer to mini. And as the Ruby Amethyst player, if you sense that there is no answer to this Stylish Surfer Mini before Medusa or something like that, all take advantage. Gas, give her some gas. Give the girl some gas. Because she will just run away with the game. Goats, be careful with them. Always be aware of your math and how close you can get to game. And is it better to put it down and leave it vulnerable, or is it better to put it down on a turn where you can bounce it back to your hand? 4 rabbits for the draw. Again, be careful with them. Don't quest them needlessly unless you're pushing for game. You want to bounce them and draw lots of cards. We've got 2 Peter Pan Shadow here, which I think is a good call. Good for opposing Stylish Surfer Minis and just anything evasive in format. And it makes our Mauis and our Foxes harder to remove. And again, it just quests for 2. The 4 Maui, of course, 2-3 split of ladies. Again, this will vary. I think you'll more often than not, you'll see more Medusas than Tremaines, but I think a lot of the time you'll just see a 2-2. But yeah, always be aware of both of these ladies. 4 friends, 3 be prepared. Again, if you're going against the Ruby Amethyst player, expect them to be on 3 or 4, be prepared. And of course, the 4 castle. So yeah, this is if I was playing, I wouldn't be this build, but I would be playing Ruby Amethyst, and a lot of this would be similar. For sure, but yeah, congratulations to Alexis as well. Going into top 16, courtesy of Killian, we have some Sapphire Steel Wheel. Again, not a great match up into Ruby Sapphire, but it can be done, especially if you're a good enough pilot. I would never bet against someone such as Sky. If they were running this deck, again, I think in the hands of the right person, it can bring victory. All the ramp and all of Steel's ping and just instant removal. Big bodies like Cinderella. We've got 4 Captain Hook, 4 Smee for early stats and board control. 4 Mickey for the ramp. We've got Belle here who's going to quest nice and big, especially in combination with Lucky Dime. Flavisham for the draw. Cogsworth is going to be fantastic for ruining our opponent's math with the resist that he's giving everyone. Safe because of the ward more often than not. Great singer for a whole new world. You love to see it. 1 copy of Beast here for the items. I think this is a really good call. And again, a 5-cost character to sing our 5-cost songs. 2 copies of Beast. Again, we don't need it. We're a whole new world deck, but we can lean into it if the board state dictates that is best. The 4 Tinkerbell, 2 Cinderella Stout-Hearted. Have an answer for this. This will win games. 3 Develop Your Brain for the search. 2 Nothing to Hide for information. Not all Sapphire Steel decks are going to running this anymore, but I think it's a perfectly fine addition. Information is very valuable. 2 Baboom here. 2 Rise of the Titans for the Queen's Castle. Well, items in general as well. Just a really diverse card. But yeah, if I'm playing against Sapphire Steel as a Ruby Amethyst player, I'm getting my castles down as soon as popular, because that's as soon as possible. Because that's how I'm winning the game. So I think this is a good addition. 2 Let It Go, absolutely for the mirror to get rid of Stout-Hearted. And again, it's inkable and usable in any match. But that's the main use. The whole new worlds are the Grab Your Swords, 4 Port, 4 Fishbone, and 2 Lucky Dime. So yeah, if you're up against this deck, if you've got item removal, try and utilize it on this quill as quick as you can. Be wary of overplaying your hand if you're reading a whole new world, because then if they just go Tragic Hero Beast, has that ruined the game for you. So yeah, just still a very strong deck. I don't know how much of it you're going to see, but there will be people playing it. Another version here by Jeebus. I think it's Jebus. I apologise if I'm saying your name wrong, mate. But utilising Simba, 7-cost Inkable 5/7 quest for 2. And when you play him, you can choose one of these. Draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. Great, help us find key pieces, get cards out of our hand that we're not worried about. Love to see it. Or deal 2 damage, chosen character. Great, just pick off pieces. Yeah, 2 damage is 2 damage. We love to see it. We've got 1 fire the cannons here, 3 baboons. So hoping to really control that early game or prevent any sort of catch up that they may suddenly try and build to through Robin Hoods or anything like that. No Captain Hooks in here. No wonder. Well, we got the fire the cannons, but no 1-drops. No 1-drops. Just well, the Porps. I'm a fool of a took. Of course, the Porps. But yeah, 3 Rise of the Titans. This should have a good matchup against locations. Yeah, Jeebus is a good player, good deck builder. So I would pay this list its due course. 1 Tamatoa, again recycling the dime, and it could be a nice finisher. Yeah, looks good. Congratulations to him. And our last list to look at is going to be a lot of fun. I wouldn't expect us to run into a lot of these during DLC. You might. There'll be a couple of people playing some Purplefasa. But yeah, Beyond Foot led Purplefasa top 16 with a load of random one-offs. I've seen a little, it was a couple of weeks ago now, but I do remember in the 20 Lord Pro Discord, I think it was in that Discord, seeing a little bit of his, maybe it was on Twitter, somewhere. I saw him kind of talking about this and some of his decisions, and I think he was kind of, I don't think he was demonstrating this as a finished deck. He was kind of like, let's just see what works. But at the same time, the random one-offs aren't quite as random as you might think just because of the Peditas. Being able to just like fish the right ones out of the discard when you want them. Again, if you were ever forced to ink one of them, then it's gone. But yeah, we've got the Hey here to grant support, which is going to make a difference sometimes, I'm sure. Fixing math that I'm sure the opponent won't see coming. Jiminy Cricket, if we've got our 1 Pinocchio on board, then we can draw a card. And it's quite interesting because if you do have Perdita, you can either have Pinocchio already on board and use her ability to bring back Jiminy Cricket, instantly draw a card. Or you could have Perdita on board, use her ability to bring back Pinocchio, and then play Jiminy Cricket yourself. Don't know how regularly that's going to happen with only 1 of each, but I'm sure it happens sometimes. We got 4 Pascal for Evasive to be a 1-drop, 1 Rafiki, 4 Chernobog's Followers to help us thin through this deck and find these one-offs. 4 Piglet, that in itself puts in a lot of work. Such an aggressive early quester, and if you don't have early response, then Piglet's going to generate a lot of lore quickly. Simba to protect characters, and again, all of these 2-drops are all potential targets for Perdita when she enters play or when she quests. We've got the 1 Lena Saberwing, 2-cost Inkable 1/3 Rush and quest for 1. Hey, it's Rush at the end of the day. I'm sure sometimes that 1 damage matters. And hey, if we play it with Crab, then it's hitting for 4. So yeah, there's lots of definitely a toolbox here. 1 Snake, 4 Fox, 4 Doc. Obviously, want to play these characters cheaper and potentially open us up to a turn 4 Mufasa. 4 Rapunzel for some extra draw. 4 Goat, 4 Rabbit, 4 Peter Pan Shadow. Our rush characters are Lena Saberwing, Madam Mim Fox. And that's pretty much it, except we're running 1 copy of Madam Mim, Rival of Merlin, 5-cost Inkable, 2/5, quest for 2. Shift 3 is relevant. We have Madam Mims. And Gruesome and Grim, Exert, play a character with cost 4 or less for free. They gain Rush at the end of the turn, banish them. So this can pop something out quickly. And if you've got Peter Pan on the field, then that character also has Evasive. So that could be a way you could really, out of nowhere, get rid of an evasive problem. Because yeah, if you've just got Madam Mim on board, then okay, they go pass. Okay, I draw. I play Peter Pan Shadow. Now I exert Madam Mim, play a character. It's got Rush and Evasive. I go in. Maybe the Peter Pan Shadow's enough, but maybe the 2 damage isn't enough. Maybe it's a Stylish Surfer Mini. And yeah, 1 copy of Maleficent, Mistress of All Evil. 5-cost Inkable, 2/3, quest for 2. Dark Knowledge, whenever this character quests, you may draw a card. Drawing cards is king. or queen, or mistress of all evil, apparently. And divination. During your turn, whenever you draw a card, you may remove 1 damage counter from chosen character to chosen opposing character. I mean, hey, better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. But yeah, drawing cards is fine. And yeah, why not? I'm not going to claim to pretend to understand a lot of this. I'm all for the Purplefasa. But I'm just saying, if I was building Purplefasa, like, this is not where I'd start, but that's why Beyond made top 16 and I didn't. I mean, I didn't play, but I'm not saying it would have been any different if I had. But yeah, congratulations. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully this has been helpful just as a refresher of set 3 format. If you want to see more deck lists, again, feel free to go back through the channel. I'd advise, if you do want to see more, if you find the Stitch videos, I did coverage for all the deck lists that won Stitches at set championships. They show a ton of deck lists, so if you want more, then I'd recommend starting there. But yeah, hopefully this was a good refresher of some of the top decks in format, and yeah, I wish you all the best of luck if you're going to a DLC. If you have enjoyed this video, I don't think it's going to be massively appealing to most of the Lorcana audience because most people are in set 4 mode. But if you have enjoyed this and you'd like me to do more videos like this in the future and cover the most relevant sets before a DLC, even if we've moved past it in real time as has happened here, then hit the like button and let me know that you've enjoyed it. But yeah, once again, good luck and thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for all things Lorcana. Hit that like button to show your support, and we'll see you soon.